it's like you never see the other side of things. Meaning, you know, if you're looking at a tree, you see this side of the tree, you go around to the other side of the tree, you can see the other side of the tree, but now you can't see this side of the tree. You can never see the other side of things. And it's like part of some kind of screen. These things make me kind of go, this may be not as deep and big and three-dimensional as I think it is. It looks like it is, but maybe it's just a very beautiful illusion of that. And maybe inner space is actually outer space, and maybe outer space is actually inner space. Hello friend, John Dalton here, Further Emergence Podcast, where we go into love, consciousness and the mystery. And in this episode from Colorado, we're going to look at Discarnates, purpose, possession, walking away, and inner and outer space. Okay, this person says, hi, alright, let me just get this straight because I'm sick of everyone acting like this is obvious. What are you actually supposed to do with dead people, discarnates, or whatever name we're using this week? And why are they the same thing? And are they the same thing as psychic attack? Or is that just some more nonsense people make up to sound like they know something? Thanks in advance. So, are discarnates? Yeah, okay. Yeah, sort of and not really. Meaning, now, okay, I go in, you know, the whole Beyond the Psychic training, it's long, I go into it in a lot of depth. So, I'm just going to have to give you like a potted version. But we have in us unconsciousness. When we die, it looks like not all of us returns to the mystery. Certain amount stays in the psychic world. Each little bit, each little psychic atom is like a hologram for the whole person. So you can feel like the whole person. This is where the idea of past lives comes from, because you contact a little bit of unconsciousness inside you and you look into this hologram of the whole life. And we, of course, are so attached to our personality and who we are that we think there's a continuity. That was me in a previous life. But it would be like looking at an atom in your fingernail and going, that once was part of a squirrel. And going, oh, I was a squirrel in a past life because of this atom in my finger. Or maybe that atom used to be in a Roman centurion. So does, you know, be like, oh, I've got the atom that used to be in a Roman centurion. That means I was a Roman centurion in a past life. We don't do that with the atoms in our body because we kind of know everything is reconstituted. But something similar happens with our unconsciousness, which is inside us, and we're working through it. And it's also, where did that come from? It was made up of all the bits that were left over. So that's been my experience of it. And I've encountered and worked with lots of people who have mostly died and bits of them have been left, and I've helped the bits that have been left to continue on into the mystery. Sometimes those bits get stuck in the psychic space for so long they forget who they were and they become what people call psychic entities, which is just like a conglomeration of lots of little psychic atoms. And yeah, it can have a personality and it can have feel like it's got an intent, a nefarious intent. But, you know, does a storm have nefarious intent? Is lightning picking on people? We don't think of it like that. It's kind of the same with psychic stuff. So, yes, it's a real thing. Most bits of dead people I've encountered in the psychic space, they're just a bit lost. They just want to go home, and it's just a matter of helping them. They're not particularly trying to do anything bad to anybody. So I wouldn't be too concerned about them. I don't think of it in terms of attack there. I mean, there is psychic attack for sure. That is a real thing. and bits of dead people are part of it, but it's not the main thing, and it's not like one of the features or parts of the psychic space is it kind of amplifies fear. So, you can't really be too afraid of it, or you'll be super afraid of it. Can't harm you, can't do anything in existence, but it can cause you to frighten the pants off yourself, and it can cause you to harm yourself for sure. So it's dangerous in that regard, but other than that, it's not. And really focus on the mystery beyond it all. Psychic space is a dual space. It's got good and bad, just like here. The mystery doesn't have any of that, and the mystery is the power source behind it all. It's where it all comes from anyway, so I would focus on that. That's what I do anyway. Okay, this person says, "Hello, I know I have a purpose, I can feel it. It's like something pulling me forward. The problem is I'm drawn to so many things that I can't tell which one is the right path. How do I know which direction is truly mine to follow and not just another distraction? Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Goodbye." Okay. Well, the whole thing of having a purpose it's a nice idea, it's a nice thing, but you can crucify yourself with it. You can drive yourself mad, like, what is my purpose? And people talk about being sent down to do something. Never really understand why people talk about it in those terms, because it's not like we're beamed down. It's not like, we're beamed down from somewhere. Maybe that came from Star Trek, this idea of I'm down here. I've been sent down here to do something. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure, isn't it? Here's your mission. It's going to disappear. You're going to forget what it is. And part of your mission is to remember what your mission is. Like, what? Gee, that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure. So, I'm not saying we don't have purpose, but I have a feeling that it's the sort of thing we discover in hindsight. When we're back up in the mothership or wherever we were beamed down from, we kind of go, oh, that's what my purpose was. There's a strong feeling of like, that's really important. My purpose is really important. I'm not so sure. It disappears every night. The whole thing, this whole beautiful existence disappears every night. So, I don't know how important the whole thing is. I often feel like we're on the beach, we're making sandcastles, and the tide's coming in. That's kind of what's happening here. So, how important is that? I don't think it's that important. But that's not to be nihilistic about it and go, oh, nothing matters. Everything matters, of course, and you're here for, you're having an experience for a reason, for sure. I think, I don't know, as I've said before, I choose to believe that. I choose to believe that I'm having an experience for, I'm having a purposeful experience, but I don't know. I don't know that for definite. So I'm going along, I'm doing my things, and then I'm kind of, well, what am I enjoying? That's really what it's about for me. What am I enjoying? So if nothing matters in the scheme of things, like I interviewed many artists, and often they're painting paintings that they hope will last beyond them. And it always seemed to me, it's like, but you won't be around doing the you that matters, the you that your partner knows, or that is loved, or is having this experience that you're having. You won't be around to know that people are looking at your painting. You won't be able to have that experience. It won't be in your now. So, I don't know if everything matters so much as we think. And I find that as a helpful perspective to take, this perspective of it's all sandcastles on the beach and the tide's coming in. Then it's like, okay, so nothing is that important. What do I enjoy? I don't mean what gives me pleasure, because pleasure doesn't last, and ultimately it's not satisfying. But what do I enjoy? Or what's the biggest yes? And do that. What's the sort of thing that you could do all day long and never get tired of it and get up in the morning and do it again. That's something I did learn from talking to artists. Painters, well, that's who I talked to, I interviewed, they're happy to paint. Most of them are, if they can just keep painting, then they're winning. So that's their success, is to be able to keep doing what they're doing. So for them, the biggest yes is painting. So if you've got loads of talents and loads of things that you'd like to do, and maybe loads of things that you could be quite good at, that's great. Go with the one that you can do all the time, all day long. 24 hours a day if you could, and you'd never get tired of it. Do that. Find a way to do that. If you can find a way to do that, then you can fit in the other things in the hierarchy of yeses. So you might really like writing. You could write all day long, all night. And you also like playing the banjo, but not as much. You don't think you could play the banjo all day long and all night. So do the writing, and then when you're having little breaks, you can play the banjo. It's kind of the way I think of it. And don't think of it in terms of like you've got a big super mission that you have to fulfill. I think if you're doing what is the biggest yes for you, then it's a byproduct. A byproduct of that is that you're fulfilling your purpose. Because as I say, we don't know. We don't know what is real. So yeah, we don't know for definite that this has meaning. We hope that it has, but we don't know. And maybe we'll get to know. But really, it has the meaning that we give it. And if you kind of think of it like that, then it's like, okay, well, what kind of meaning am I going to give it? And then give it that. Okay, this person says, hello there, I've been wondering about something that's come up a few times. How exactly do you tell when someone is actually possessed and when they are not possessed? How do you know when whatever it was has finally left? Thanks so much, love. Always good to get a clear answer. Bye for now. Right. Nice and simple. How do you know if someone's possessed? Well, again, it's a kind of the idea of possession, the idea of the psychic space, and how it works is through, it amplifies fear. Not intentionally. It's like, if you stand in a big valley and you shout your name, it'll echo. Is that like the valley trying to do something to you? Reflect back something to you? Well, probably not. It's just the valley being a valley. Psychic space is kind of the same. It just it amplifies and reflects back your fear. So if you're afraid of people being possessed, you will be terrified of people being possessed. You'll see it everywhere. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing is that we're all kind of possessed in one way or another, in as much as we all have unconsciousness. We all have our little atoms of unconsciousness that we are working through, turning into consciousness. So you could say when you are so angry that you're seeing red and you're saying cruel, hurtful things to people that you love, you could say that you're being possessed in a way. And that is true. So I think when you don't other somebody and go, oh, you're possessed and you're, it's really dangerous, you're really dangerous, then it's not so fearful. So when you don't point the finger at somebody else, it helps to bring down the fear levels. So having said all of that and not wanting to, I don't mean to contradict myself, but possession is a thing also, meaning that depending on what is going on with the person, sometimes there can be a vacancy in the person and a psychic entity can kind of move in a little bit and take them over a bit. You puppet them a little bit. Now, I know that sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but it does happen. And I'd be kidding you just to say it doesn't. But fundamentally, it's the same thing. fundamentally it's unconsciousness. Fundamentally it's unconsciousness in the person. So the thing is not to go, oh my God, they're possessed. You're possessed, I'm possessed in the same way. In what people call possession and what can be possession, it's just a concentration of what I'm talking about unconsciousness in the form of a particular entity that sees a sort of a vacancy in the person. So the main sort of most helpful thing you can do in the face of all that is to know that about the mystery, and that everything in the psychic space is trying to avoid the mystery. So once you know that, then you're not so freaked out by it. It can be diminished. And really from the outside, you wouldn't notice the difference, I don't think, between somebody who has a lot of unconsciousness and someone who's possessed, technically possessed. And the only difference is, as far as I can see, and as far as what I have worked with, is when you're dealing with your own unconsciousness, it's like this is the unconsciousness you have drawn to yourself to work with and process through your whole life. Possession by an entity is like not your unconsciousness. I mean, there's a part of your unconsciousness that sort of left the door open to be possessed to begin with. That's a different thing. That is part of your unconsciousness. But there's a sort of a quality of being taken over, which again, that's very hard to tell the difference between somebody being taken over by anger, or taken over by jealousy, or taken over by lust, or taken over by greed, which might be the person's own unconsciousness. So I think it's probably, unless you're very actively engaged in helping people with psychic stuff, or it comes up in your work like it does in mine, I think knowing the difference between someone who's possessed and who isn't, it's kind of, I think it's probably you're better off not to worry about it too much, because fundamentally when you break it all down, it's the same thing. It is psychic atoms in varying conglomerations, just like real atoms, that make up different things like trees and benches and bodies and animals. We don't get too disturbed by the different things in existence, and it's kind of the same with psychic stuff. So unless you're involved in helping people with it, I think the main focus is just the mystery, and not letting the fear overtake you, and to not other people, meaning, oh, this is a good person and that person's possessed. I think if you think like that, then that's your own unconsciousness coming up. And in terms of protection, the psychic space is a dual space, so there's good and bad. So if you think of, oh, how do I protect myself, which is another way of saying, how do I fight the bad stuff, then you're kind of stuck in the psychic space. Whereas if you focus on the mystery, where there is no duality, and becoming familiar with that and being able to go to it and bring it with you, be conscious of it all the time, then you're naturally repellent to any kind of psychic stuff, because the psychic stuff doesn't like the mystery, because it stopped short of it. It didn't continue on into it during the process of death. So knowing about the mystery, focusing on the mystery, meditating, with your focus being on the mystery, the way I teach people, or it doesn't have to be the way I teach people, whatever way, but if the focus is on the mystery, then everything sort of takes care of itself. Sponsor time! Well, sort of, not exactly. I don't have a sponsor. They're kind of, these podcasts are free. They're free to receive, but they're not free to make. I don't have a crew, I don't have a video editor, it's all just me. And I do receive a little bit of help from the people on Patreon, and if you're one of those people, thanks very much. But mostly it's funded by me. Mostly all this stuff is just funded by me. I don't have a social media person, I don't have anything, it's just me doing it. If you would like to help, support that, support the sort of things I talk about: consciousness, love, compassion, if you want to support that kind of future, or me and what I'm doing, if you're getting something out of these podcasts, then I'd really appreciate it if you would help out on Patreon or PayPal. You can just, you don't have to get into Patreon if you don't want to. So if you want to help out on Patreon, it's patreon.com/John Dalton Podcasts. Or if you want to help out on PayPal, it's furtheremergence.com/support. But anything that you can send helps, and then you're a kind of sponsor. And then you can also, people write all the time with the different things they want response to, but maybe you've got something, or maybe you'd like me to do something else, in which case you're very welcome to. So the rough idea is, if you met me in person, would you like to have a cup of tea with me? And if you would, then you sort of can, the tea part anyway, because for roughly the price of a cup of tea, depending on where you are in the world, you can support what I'm doing on Patreon. And if you would do that, I would really appreciate it. It would help out a lot. Thanks very much. Back to the episode. All right, this person says, you know that feeling when something that used to make perfect sense suddenly feels different? That's where I am right now. How do you know when it's time to walk away from something or someone that once really served you? I keep wondering if it's better to stay and see what else there is to learn, or if holding on is just keeping me stuck. Thanks a million for your insight. Take care. Right. Well, that's tricky. Do I say that at the beginning of every response? Probably do, because everything's kind of tricky, isn't it? In some way, or there's no kind of clear-cut answer to everything. But I think this, when you boil it down, this is a question about rigidity. Meaning, when you come across something new, and it's really helpful, and you're really into it, it can be like, oh, this is amazing. This has got all the answers. This is the answer I have been looking for. And then a certain amount of time passes, or you ingest, like let's say you come across a new author, like a philosophy author, and you're really like, oh, this is so good. And you read the first book, and then you're like, oh, well, if the first book was good, the second book's got to be better. And you read the second book, and you go, oh, if the second book is better than the third book, and so on. Eventually, you get to the end of their books. You got no more books. You've read them all. And you're like, oh, well, I start reading them again. Well, I kind of read them. I kind of know what's in there. And the shine goes off it a bit. And then you discover the next author. And you're like, oh my God, this one's got all the answers. And the tendency is then to go, that other one was kind of rubbish, or that other one was like kindergarten. Now I'm in big school. So that's not great, to rubbish the thing that you've outgrown. It's kind of not grateful, because it's part of the process. You grow in consciousness, and what was really helpful, suddenly you've embodied it. And you're ready for the next thing. It doesn't invalidate the first thing. It just means you're ready for the next thing. Same with people. To a degree. It can be people, it can be forms of therapy, it can be processes. Like one of the things when I'm training craniosacral therapists, it's very easy when you're a therapist to kind of feel like the weight of the person's whole life is on your shoulders. It's not. Absolutely not. You're a chapter in the person's life. And once you kind of know that, then you can be with the rhythm of the beginning, middle, and end of the chapter. And all going well, you'll all recognize that, and everyone moves on in growth and achievement and happiness, and it's lovely. In relationship, it can be different. Because in a relationship, you can sort of feel you've built a structure, and you feel like you have an allegiance to the structure. You can have made vows, and you feel like, oh, I can't break my vows. And then it comes down to, what are you doing in the relationship in the first place? if it's a romantic relationship, if it's a love relationship. Because what I see missing a lot is the focus on love. And when you think in terms of like, well, I'm married, or well, we've got a house together, we've got children together, we've got, those are all factors. But if you're not focused on love, it becomes duty, it becomes a burden, it becomes, well, we've been together for 20 years, we've been together for whatever number of years. We sort of have to stay together. You don't have to stay together. The only reason to stay together is for love, as far as I can see. Everything else is kind of dead if you don't. If you don't focus on love, eventually it becomes a burden. And then you end up asking questions like this, like, I've outgrown this loser. They were great, now I've outgrown them. Don't know whether I should dump them or not. That's relating to the person in terms of growth, and it's kind of going, well, I was with the person for growth, I wasn't with them for love. Now, love, consciousness, the mystery, they're all kind of the same thing as far as I can see. So with people, there's more to it than a new type of study, a new type of philosophy, a new type of anything. There's a lot more to it. And the whether you outgrow something or whether you're just hanging on for the wrong reasons are complicated. But I think if you come back to say with people, whatever the relationship is, if it's based in love, then that can guide you through that kind of question. But if it's a way of thinking, if it's a perspective, if it's a structure, spiritual structure, and it was great and then suddenly it's not, just because all your friends are in the same spiritual structure as you, that's not a good reason to stay there. The reason to stay there is because it's the truth for you. It's the right thing. It's still the right thing for you. And that there's more, you haven't got to the bottom of it. There's more in there. Then that's a good reason to stay. But not because of, well, I've built a little psychic, energetic structure and I have to stay in it. You don't have to stay in anything. Because this is all going to be over way quicker than we think. 10 years from now, it's still going to be now. On the day that you die, on the moment that you die, it's going to be now, like this now. So it's not going to be that different. So that's good to, keep in mind, factor in. So I think rather than have I outgrown the thing, because that will always be a little bit complicated, if you focus on, what am I doing here in the first place? Why did I take up the thing in the first place? And when you're true to that, if it's love, if it's growth, if it's consciousness, whatever it is, then you can't go wrong, and then things will naturally fall away when you're finished with them. That's been my experience anyway. All right, this person says, hello, I've heard you talk about inner space and outer space a number of times, and I have to admit, I'm still a bit confused. Sometimes it sounds like you're switching them around, and I'm not sure if I'm misunderstanding or if that's part of the point. Can you please explain what exactly you mean by each and how they relate to one another? Thank you very much. I would really like to get this clear in my mind. Goodbye. Well, if you think about existence, there's a bit of a line in existence, a demarcation line between in existence and out of existence, and we blur that line a lot. And we talk about outer space, meaning we're talking about existence, and we talk about inner space like it's the space inside our head. And that our head is just the circumference of our cranium, and that our inner space is limited to our body. Now, there's lots of very clever people who are spending heaps of time and attention trying to locate consciousness, define consciousness, where does it come from, and they're not doing so well at coming up with answers to that. So, to help, or how I've kind of come to the way I think about it is by separating out what I've been told with what I directly experience. like I am in Colorado right now, so for me, I have a direct experience of Colorado. Until I came here, Colorado was just a story. Now I have direct experience of Colorado, so I'm here. Yes, I've experienced. I know what the smells are like, I can see the ground and whatever. So, my direct experience is not so much that this is outer space and this is inner space. To me, it feels reversed. To me, existence feels like something that I'm looking into. And rather than feeling like a little person on a planet, which I've just been told about, I don't really have an experience of a planet, I've just been told about it. I get the idea of it, and I don't disagree with it. I'm not a flat earther, and I'm not a flat earther. I don't really know. I've been in airplanes, I've seen curves, I don't know. I'm not fixed. I'm much more interested in what my direct experience is. And my direct experience of inner space is that it's much bigger than the limitations of my own little head circumference. I go into this whole thing a lot in my book, The Gentle Snap, about deconstructing the assumptions that kind of keep existence feeling like it's a big three-dimensional deep space. For example, I've never seen my own face, I've never seen my own head, I've only ever seen reflections of it. Maybe it's different for you, but for me, no. I don't know that I have a back. I've never experienced it, I've never seen it with these eyes. Things are always ever in front of me, meaning if I turn around, what was behind me is still in front of me, and what was in front of me is now, I still don't experience it. So you can try that for yourself. Everything's always in front. And I kind of go, wonder why is that? It seems strange. Why is everything facing forward? It's like you never see the other side of things. Meaning, if you're looking at a tree, you see this side of the tree, you go around to the other side of the tree, you can see the other side of the tree, but now you can't see this side of the tree. You can never see the other side of things. And it's like part of some kind of screen. These things make me kind of go, this may be not as deep and big and three-dimensional as I think it is. It looks like it is, but maybe it's just a very beautiful illusion of that. And maybe inner space is actually outer space, and maybe outer space is actually inner space. So, yes, it is confusing. Yes, I do go back and forth about it, because I think the way we relate to it is also confusing. And it's not that it's not helpful, but through not assuming about stuff, I can then kind of go into it a bit more. So then through assuming, not assuming things and just going with what my direct experience is, I can kind of separate out what's happening in existence and what's happening out of existence. And when I do that, not a lot happens in existence. Like I think I'm seeing something, okay, but where am I having the visions? They're inside. Where do I touch things? Well, I touch them out here. Yeah, but the sensation, when I reach out and touch a cup, the sensation is inside. I register that sensation inside. I hear sounds. Well, where am I hearing them? They all everything ends up inside. So I'm getting all this information from my senses, and in a way, my senses are going to, and there's only 5 of them, they go to make up this whole great thing of existence. So it's complicated meaning the inner space and outer space, and I do use them interchangeably, particularly when talking about meditation, because when you close your eyes in meditation, it's like a spaceship undocking from the spaceport, and you're pulling back into this vast inner space. So it doesn't feel like inner space anymore. It feels like outer space, or it feels a lot bigger than looking into this little existence. So I don't know what the best way to describe that is without it being confusing. I'm not trying to be confusing about it, but you kind of, when you flip the two and you think of inner space as being as like your body, or your little puppet, glove puppet that you operate. When you withdraw from that, then you're into a much bigger space. And sometimes it's better to think of that as outer space, that you're pulling back into something bigger. Because if you keep thinking of it as inner space, you'll keep bashing up against the idea of your brain, the idea of the size of your body, and the container of your body. So yeah, probably did not clarify that. If anything, I just highlighted how confusing it is. But I think you do need to, well, I do anyway. I like to switch it around. When I have my eyes open, yeah, sure, that's outer space, and inside is inner space. But then once I have my eyes closed in meditation, I kind of flip it around so that it helps me to not limit what's going on inside and to come more deeply into what my direct experience is. All right, that's all I have for you this time. I trust you're well. Trust you're of good cheer. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.